Expensing presents Going Beyond ERPs for Effective Spend Management. In this video series, we cover the following topics. 1. What is spend management and what does it do for me? 2. What are the areas of spend management? 3. Trend of evolution to new-gen composite applications. 4. The 4 drivers to go beyond ERPs. 5. What does spend management do that ERP cannot? 6. Characteristics of new generation spend systems with digital transformation. 7. How can you make a real difference in spend management for your company? This is video 4 of 7. The 4 drivers to go beyond ERPs.
This push for organizations to go beyond their ERP has become very much more important. Earlier, organizations were designed for efficiency. Today, that's not the only factor, and I'm going to expand on this. Resilience, adaptability, especially with the kind of disruptions that we are going through, is becoming important. The whole concept of the Great Resignation and how it is impacting the IT strategy and the application strategy of organizations, the kind of supply chain disruptions and associated spike in inflation that is happening, and finally, the huge disruptions that have been accelerated by the pandemic. So we'll talk about these 4 areas. Let me quickly dive into each one of them and take you through. I don't know how many of you realize, but efficiency was really the cornerstone of everything that organizations did. So right from just-in-time inventory to lean manufacturing to offshoring, all scaling, something as simple as we take it for granted that the more scaled you are, the better will your company be. And those all assume a relatively stable environment. And therefore, as you scale, you are able to sell more of whatever you have been producing. This was great in a particular era. But now with what has been happening, efficiency can no longer be the cornerstone of what you are doing. There are other factors which have become, if I may say, more important, resilience being one of them. And this is required for business continuity. The interesting thing about this is that both resilience and agility or adaptability, whichever way you choose to call it. So agility is what you need to thrive in your business, so that you kind of roll with the punches, if that's the metaphor. That resilience and agility will often pull you in a different direction from efficiency. Yeah, like offshoring is moving to nearshoring or onshoring. Yeah, that's not probably the most efficient. Just-in-time inventory is moving to keep more stocks available so that production doesn't get disrupted. So you're now in an era where the simple thing of just one factor driving you and your CFO being the one who is moving you towards efficiency is no longer there. There is resilience and agility which need to be factored in. ERPs were great in this, they were the paragons for the whole era of efficiency that we are talking about, because they were meant to have stable systems. You put them in once, don't change them again. Just continue running them the way they were set up for you. If need to change your process rather than changing the system, that in today's environment where resilience and agility are required can actually become a millstone around the neck of the organization, which is trying to do. So this is just the first factor out there. So quickly in the chat box, if you all can go ahead and see that you need to move beyond efficiency into resilience and agility, type yes. If I'm not clear in making my points here, say not clear. Yeah, please go ahead. We'll move to the next one in the meantime. The more you type in, the more we'll get an idea about how much you've got, what additional we can do as part of these kind of webinars. So the Great Resignation is the second one. I'm sure you've all heard of it. 40% of US workforce resigned last year. And it is not only impacting other markets, but this trend is expected to continue in 2022. Most organizations responded to this by saying, people want more money. That's why they're quitting. But when people were talked to, they said they're looking at quality of work, they're looking at autonomy, they're looking at empowerment, they're looking at work-life balance. They want to get a sense of contribution. They want an organization culture which is modern, participative, etc. You would notice that some of these things are not very easy to achieve just with an ERP. So what this Great Resignation is doing is it leads to scarcity of key talent. You have to increase wages to ensure that the people who are there don't leave. And you need to build flexibility in utilizing talent wherever it is. In my own organization, I have people spread across 7 to 8 countries doing work which was earlier done only from head office. I have at least 3 to 4 critical areas of my organization which is being done by consultants, what I've called gig workers here, who are going ahead and doing that. And that is the only way if you want to be a world-class organization and be able to survive in a field which is competitive. All of this, if you want really to give your people this kind of an experience, and if you want to address the scarcity of talent which is likely to come up, you want to utilize people who may not necessarily be sitting in your organization, may not even be employees, you will need, these systems which empower the functional users. Yeah, most ERP systems are designed as backend systems with limited interaction for functional users, and therefore they don't feel that empowerment, they don't feel that sense of autonomy, they don't feel easy to take decisions based on data that they have. So because ERPs don't provide this digital transformation and flexibility, one of the biggest things which is again changing in the application world is the concept of user experience. So far, it was assumed that if you buy a system, the people in the organization will find a way of using it. No longer so. If you really want your functional users to be empowered, autonomous, to feel that they are in a modern organization, some of these kind of things are going to start becoming very important for you. So the great resignation is the second big trend which was happening out there. Supply chain disruption and associated inflation. I'm sure a lot of you being in ASEAN or in Asia, you've already experienced this. One of the largest, realignment of supply chains, and the factors which are mentioned there are clear: pandemic, protectionism, geopolitics. The whole concept of vendor relationship management is beginning to come in, and you need to be in touch with the people who are managing your money, which is your bankers, your credit providers, your service providers, your suppliers, your contractors, whoever are the people that you are working with. A completely new approach to working with them, including working digitally with them, is required. Also, you need a new level of visibility and transparency into your supply chain, which was earlier not required. A survey that I recently saw that McKinsey had done, it said that 80% of CFOs today are getting involved in understanding supply chain and supply chain related issues. And surprise, surprise, 60% of CEOs are directly involved in supply chain issues because it is impacting their sales today. Plus, if you see the kind of risks that are there, which is making them come in, and new requirements like ESG. Do you know that Germany just passed a law which said companies which are above a particular size have to certify that all their vendors are complying at a certain level on the ESG. So ESG is no longer this nice talk which doesn't really impact you. It's good for the West. It is impacting all of us today. Plus the high inflation, what is mentioned at the top, is you'll need to find new ways of partnering with your vendors so that you end up with a win-win relationship while keeping your costs under control. A system like an ERP, which is only confined to your organization, but what you need are things like vendor portal, vendor empanelment, sourcing, vendor performance, to be connected to your vendors through this new gen. So this is a third factor which is moving you in. The fourth and the final factor that I want to talk about is huge disruptors accelerated by the pandemic. So pandemic and more, whether you call, the trouble we are having in the Middle East, or somebody like Indonesia suddenly deciding not to ship coal, to so many, we have a new one every day over and above the pandemic coming in. So business as usual will not work when clients and competitors around you are changing fast. I've just given some examples. If you're a bank, you are being challenged by digital banks and fintechs. If you're an insurance company, you are challenged by digital insurers and aggregators. If you're a manufacturer, there are B2B and B2C e-commerce companies who are fulfilling the need on the browser for some of your B2B and B2C customers. So all of us are going through some kind of a disruption. Just some examples here to illustrate the point. In order to move to what is required, your processes will need to be streamlined and digital. You will need quick information so that you can take decisions without having to hunt for paper, look for various things. You will run with lean teams. You have no choice with the great resignation. You'll have to eliminate paperwork, and your turnaround times for your processes will need to get better. Your people, instead of doing the daily routine repetitive tasks which they are supposed to do, which will only lead to more of them quitting, what you need today are people who can be involved in innovation, who can drive initiatives, who can do change management, both for the business model as well as the business processes and systems. You will only enable that if you have systems which are helping you do that. And the strange thing is, because some of these things came up in an era of 1990s, the ERPs just don't understand. Not only do they not understand and hence not allow you to handle it, but because they are systems which are not easily changeable, they could actually become a source of inertia to help you transform and respond to the disruptors in your industry who are taking business away from you.